Hello, my friends. Assalamu alaikum. Today, I read the following verses of Quran for ChatGPT. These verses are from chapter 23, verses 12 to 16. Let me read the translation first. And certainly did we create man from an extract of clay. Then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm lodging. Then we made the sperm drop into a clinging clot, and we made the clot into a lump of flesh, and we made from the lump bones, and we covered the bones with flesh. Then we developed him into another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators. Then indeed, after that, you are to die. Then indeed, you on the day of resurrection will be resurrected. The translation ends now. My friends, I asked ChatGPT, can a human being write these verses in 7th century Arabia? In addition, I told ChatGPT that I know you are not a human being, but please, based on logic, provide me an objective response. My friends, now I am going to share ChatGPT's response in this regard. Here is the response. The verses you refer to, that is, chapter 23, verses 12 to 16, describe the process of human creation in stages. Let's examine them and analyze whether it is reasonable to believe a human in the 7th century could have written them using logic and evidence. Key points in the verses. Number 1. Stages of creation. Extract from clay, that is, origin of life elements in earth. Sperm drop placed in a firm lodging, that is, the womb. Transformation of the sperm drop into a clinging clot, a lump of flesh. Bones followed by the clothing of flesh over the bones. Development into a distinct human being. Point number 2. Post-creation events. Death. Resurrection on the day of judgment. Now the question. Could a human in the 7th century write this? Point number 1. Scientific insights in the verses. These verses describe embryological stages that closely correspond to modern scientific discoveries about human development in the womb. For instance, clinging clot, that is, alaka. This stage can be interpreted as the embryo clinging to the uterine wall, resembling a clot or a leech-like structure. Lump of flesh. The subsequent stage resembles a chewed lump, similar to the somite structure in the developing embryo. Bones, then clothed with flesh. This aligns with the sequence in embryology where cartilage forms first, followed by the development of muscles and skin. Modern embryology, with advancements in microscopy and imaging, only confirmed these stages within the last few centuries. It is improbable that a 7th century human could have this detailed and accurate knowledge. Point number 2. The environment of the 7th century. In the Arabian Peninsula during the 7th century, knowledge about human biology and embryology was extremely limited. The scientific tools, such as microscopes, necessary to observe these stages did not exist. Medical knowledge at the time was rudimentary and often speculative, based on ancient Greek or other pre-Islamic sources. These sources, like Galen, do not precisely align with the Quran's description. Point number 3. Uniqueness of the style and message. The Quran's language and literary style were unmatched in 7th century Arabia, and even its fiercest critics acknowledged its inimitability. The Quran repeatedly challenges its audience to produce even a single chapter like it. For example, in chapter 2, verse 23. Despite this challenge, no one in 7th century Arabia succeeded. Point number 4. Alternative explanations. If these verses were authored by a human, they would require an extraordinary level of knowledge about embryology and development, far beyond what was available at the time. If such knowledge was inaccessible in the 7th century, it strongly supports the belief that the source of these verses is divine revelation, as Muslims believe. Conclusion: an objective perspective. Based on logic and historical context, point number 1. The detailed and accurate description of embryology in these verses is unlikely to have come from a 7th century human, given the lack of scientific tools and knowledge at that time. Point number 2. The Quran's consistency in style, depth of meaning, and its challenge to human authorship add weight to the claim that it is of divine origin. While belief in divine revelation is ultimately a matter of faith, the logical and historical evidence strongly supports the view that these verses could not have been authored by a human being in the 7th century. My friends, with this, ChatGPT's response finishes. Thank you for listening, and Assalamu Alaikum.